What's going on YouTube? It's Texans Take over here, back with another video. In today's video, we are doing a Houston Texans mock draft simulator. This has been a while since I've recorded a video. It's been about 3 days actually, but I was away for the weekend, so figured I'd record one now. It's going out on Tuesday, but I'm recording it Monday night because this is when I'm returning home. I was away on the weekend, so there's that. But we're here with the Houston Texans, obviously, with this mock draft simulator, picking at 28, 38, 59, 69, 106, 141, 167, 243. This is a standard mock draft, and it is about to be mock draft month in about 2 days, as we're about to turn into April, as Monroe Freeling goes all the way up at 11 to the Dolphins, ranked 13th on the big board. Cardinal Tate falls all the way to 14, ranked number 10 on the big board, so not too far of a drop off. Jeremiah Love at 12 is an incredible drop off, though. Fano at 6. Ruben Bain at 2, Mekhi Lemon at 8, wide receiver 1 in this class. Kendrick Falk all the way up at 16, Sadiq at 19, which I think is a good fit for the Panthers. CJ Allen, where's he ranked throughout the draft process? He's at 18. I think he can fall into the second round pretty easily, but as we approach our pick here at 28, Olvega does go there at 27. To me, I feel like we're going to trade down. I don't know where we would trade down, though. And if we stick and pick here at 28, Peter Woods would be my favorite pick, which is why I think we have the flexibility to move down. So, if there's a team like, just a Kansas City down one spot there who thinks, oh, TJ Parker's incredibly better than Zion Young or Armason Thomas or Gabiakis or, Malachi Lawrence, these guys that are in this second day two range. But TJ Parker could be that out and out um, first round pick. Maybe they, are tempted to move up, or a team like, the Jets who do need edge rusher after trading. Was it Jermaine Johnson or was it, um, who's the other one? That Will McDonald? I don't know. It was one of the two that they traded to Tennessee. I can't remember. I always get them mixed up. But, if you're sticking and picking here, I'm leaning with Peter Woods, but I like the idea of Caden McDonald's. I like the idea of a Caleb Banks, but I think trading back to 34 is my favorite spot in this draft. I know they're not interested, so we're going to conjure up our own thing. I think if they're moving up 6 spots, it'd be something like this, and then like 217 for 243, um, which I think is a pretty fair deal for the Texans, all things considered. So we'll do this here. If Peter Woods goes, then completely fine. He doesn't. Ihanichor's there too. Pregnon's there as well. So maybe you don't want to go Peter Woods. Maybe you're concerned about a lot of things. Kristen Miller goes there, who I like. But, if you see the way the board fell, Banks, Hunter, Miller, McDonald, you'd rather lock in one of your top D linemen in this class, and that's certainly Peter Woods. So that's going to be my selection here at 34. Pregnon does go there at 36, but you're in a position where you can go with your backup edge rusher if you want to, with the TJ Parker. You could trade back a little bit if you want to. Um, but I think what we're going to do with the extra capital that we got with 59 here, can we move up to 45 maybe? We could. What would 39 look like? 3% chance, 42. 28% chance, 43. 36. And Jets at. So the Ravens at 45 could take something like this maybe, or even 106. And we'll try that because we know the way that Caserio likes to draft. He likes to move around the board, usually move back and then compensate again by moving up to go get his guys. So we'll just pretend our guys there at 45 because that's a Jake Rodriguez range. That's, a Gabiakis range, Malachi Lawrence range too. So there's going to be a very valuable player there. But here at 38, I think you could explore the idea of an edge rusher here, and I really, really like TJ Parker. So, although Clemson didn't have the best year last year, I think going with, you know, an edge rusher does make a lot of sense in the second round. Considering he fell all the way down there, I think it does make a lot of sense. So, that's going to be my pick there, starting with two Clemson guys at 34 and 38, with Peter Woods and TJ Parker. And here at 45, I think the board fell perfectly for us. You're in a position where you can go get your guard and Chase Basantis, who y'all know I really, really like. And I think that makes it pretty self-explanatory here to just go after my favorite guy. because we do kind of have a need at the backup guard position. We don't really have good depth there. I think you can develop him into a player that, if you refine him in the run game, is going to be one of the best guards in the league. So I'm going with Basantis there at 45. I know some people have the idea that, oh, he went to Texas A&M, he's going to be another Kenyon Green. This is not a player like a Kenyon Green. It's a completely different system, completely different type of player. Um, you can't really, like CJ Stroud, for example. Ohio State quarterbacks never fared well until he got into the league. So, it's just a stereotype that gets slapped onto dudes that I think is unfair to an extent, that really hurts them for the opinions of some teams. So for the Texans, respectively, interior offensive linemen with the Texas A&M symbol are not going to be looked as highly as, if Chase Masantis went to Oregon and Emmanuel Pregnell went to Texas A&M, there's going to be flipped. Um, Ideologies on players just because of where they went to school. But here at 69, I think it is a trade down spot for me. Ty Simpson being here is incredible. I think that's why the Steelers would like to move, to go get their quarterback at, maybe 76. So we can go out and hopefully get like the likes of a Connor Liu, or maybe a Mike Washington if he falls or something like that. But I think it does make sense to move back. And I think if the Steelers are looking for their quarterback, then could certainly do something like this. If we give 217 in this deal, could we pick up 161? I think that makes the most sense. So we'll try that, and then if we need to move back, then we certainly could into the 200s. But as you can see, Big Citrus is there, Connor Liu is there, Max Clare is there, and I haven't gone with Connor Liu in a while, and I think you do need to bolster that interior offensive line. And I think he could be the best schematic fit for the Texans at 6'3", 303, very similar to the way that Jake Andrews plays. Um, Injured, but I don't think that's a concern for a center. And I think he's going to be a very viable center in the league. I think he'll be a surplus starter for whatever team he does join. So Connor Liu is going to be my selection here at 76. I definitely think he can go higher than that. Maybe 59 to the Texans could be a good spot for him. I do think the Texans will look at center in this draft. Logan Jones falls all the way to 104, so maybe you could spend that pick somewhere else, but you can't really anticipate the board. Um, and here at 104, I think you're looking for um, either a playmaker at the receiver position. Jonah Coleman being there is certainly intriguing. Um, you're looking for a playmaker, maybe a CJ Daniels. I really like Kevin Coleman Jr. Um, and you could look for a linebacker. I really like the idea of Deontay Lawson in Houston. I really like Torian York. I think Trey Moore is more of an edge, but I like the athleticism he possesses. Caleb Elam's one of the best graded players this year, and he was superb for TCU. Um, you can see how much he is just basically a box linebacker, good in coverage, good in the run game, gonna do what you need to do for a traditional linebacker, and I think that could be a D'Amico project that's really exciting. I like Jimmy Rolder, I like Wade Woodaz, two guys the Texans met with. Um, and I think two guys that will get drafted. I really like Scooby Williams and Lander Barton too, even though they're down the board. This is a really good pass rusher in Scooby Williams. I don't know if he could be an edge rusher in the NFL though, just a little slim. But maybe if he gets up to like 245 and possesses that pass rush ability that he does have, then maybe that's something to look at. But here at 104, I don't think you can pass up the idea of Jonah Coleman in Houston. I think he's a really good player, and I think he's going to be really good in the league for a really long time just because of how good he is in the pass block game, which I think is really important to the Texans. And 12% for the Texans there, which is pretty surprising. But that's going to be my selection here at 104. Jonah Coleman, if he does fall all the way down there, I don't know if he will actually. Um, but here at 121, CJ Daniels does go at 112, which I think is a guy the Texans could look at. I really like the idea of Jalen Kilgore, but I really like the idea of a trade down here to pick up maybe 130, 227, 238. We have had 5 picks, and then we have 4 more to go. Um, but I do like the idea of trading back into the 200s. I know you could probably, we'll just do this. I think 9 spots for 227 would seal the deal in real life. So we'll just try to stay semi-realistic there and do that. And here at 130, Bud Clark does go. Jalen Kilgore does go at 121. With the team that moved up with us. So maybe they just really wanted Jalen Kilgore there. But at 130, I really like the idea of Bryce Boetcher here. We do have a need at linebacker. And considering we haven't gone with defense in the last 3 picks, I think you can bolster that defensive front. And I think our priority should be our front seven defensively headed into this draft. Maybe you look at maybe like a Charles Demings to be a backup corner for you and a special teams guy who's really, really good for SFA and possesses good size on the outside, but For this, I'm gonna go with Bryce Wetcher here, to play a role. I know we haven't gone with tight end yet. I think that's going to be where my next pick goes. I like Jack Andrews though. That's certainly someone you could look at. Really good blocker at the tight end position. But I'm growing big on Porkirkshire and Raridon from Notre Dame just because of the size he possesses and how good he is in the run game. So maybe that's something to explore. But I really like Oscar Delp as well. I think he'll be off the board by this point. But if he's there at 141, we can take a reach on him. Just so we could say we got him. But Bryce Bletcher here at 130, I think is going to be the selection for me. Um, and then at 141, just like I said, I am going to go with Oscar Delp, guy that I really, really like. I like Tanner Koziel a lot too, just as a receiving tight end, but I think Oscar Delp does make a lot of sense for the way that we do play. And I really like the way he plays the game, so I'm going to go with him there at 141. So pretty good back-to-back picks. Raridon does go there. And here at 161, I'm going to go with my personal favorite guy. That is Kevin Coleman Jr. And then hopefully Elam's or is there at 169 because we did go with Boetcher actually. Um, but you could double up at linebacker to be honest. I think you could go with Caden Curry here if you want to double up at edge. But here at 161, I am going to go with Kevin Coleman Jr. We're making 10 picks in this draft. I think that's fairly realistic with what the Texans will do. Um, Here at 167, though, I like the idea of Michael Taff as a swarm guy, just a very physical safety who's good in the run game. Um, Zane Durant does make a lot of sense here if you want your three tech. VJ Payne, I like too, had a really, really good senior bowl actually, and good in the run defense grade too. He's a very physical safety. He really possesses a good size too. I think he's like 6'2", 210. I guess we can look at it there. 6'3", 210. And then, Bishop Fitzgerald, Texans met with Chase Roberts. I like Cole Wisniewski, I think, could be, a in the box safety. Maybe he converts to linebacker in the NFL. Um, Other safeties on the board. Again, Jalen Stroman, I think a very physical safety, too, that the Texans could look at. Um, it's a lot of physical safeties. This is probably the best cover guy. And I think I talked myself into actually going with Jalen Stroman here at 178. I like the idea of him and maybe Zane Durant falls, I doubt. But if he's there at 227, then he goes there all the way up at 180. So 40 picks away. We're not going to do any trading from now on. We did make some moves. I think 3 moves in this draft, and 2 close it out at 227. Um, I think you're just looking for a guy to be some depth that can do a role. Max Bredesen, again, a player I really, really like. Jalen Husky, I think if he's down the board, you could look to him at safety. Um, Jaden Lucas, I'm actually growing on him and his tape just because of his size. But certainly has a lot of polishing to do. Didn't really play all too much for Clemson this past year, but the year before he was very, very productive. Um, Sierra Wright had a good year for Nebraska the 2 years before last. Wasn't bad this year either. But I would say 2024 was his best year. A lot of these guys just had off years this year, but their previous years were a lot better. Like ADJ Harvey, who had a really, really good tape the year prior to last, and his size is also a concern. So there's that. But I mean, if Max Bredesen's on the board, it's hard for me to say no. I think Parker Brailsford could be someone that's intriguing, just as a small center, or not. He can't really be a small guard, but if you're looking at the interior offensive line, I think Micah Morris is a player I really like. Traditional size, and I think should go a lot higher than he's being projected to go. So we'll go with him just to give him some recognition here at 227, player that I really, really do like. So that's the end of this mock draft. I think it turned out um, pretty good. You get your Clemson duo to start out with as this draft finally grades. 2 A's in there. Basantis, I really like the idea of him at 45 if you are able to move down. Lou, I like. Jonah Coleman, I like. Boetra, I like. Delp, I like. Coleman, I like. Stroman, I like. And Morris, I do like. Overall, it's a B+. I think that's a fair grade. But TJ Parker is definitely a slam dunk at 38 if he falls all the way there. I think that's your developmental edge behind a Daniil Hunter. And then if Daniil does go, then you do have TJ Parker to step in there and do that role. So, um, really like that. We did swap with the Cardinals there, as you can see, with picking up 34, 104, and 217 for 28 and 243. So, uh, you can look at the trades. It was 4 trades in here. You move back, you move up, you move back, and you move back again to pick up extra draft capital. I think the Texans will certainly do something like this, but pick up draft capital for next year as well because we don't have a lot of picks. But let me know what y'all think down in the comment section below. If you did enjoy this video, please be sure to like, subscribe, and as always, it's Texans Takeover, and I'm out. Peace.